Right, welcome guys to another YouTube daily cast here. We'll be spectating Sajan and Chuck against Tjuvis and JokeOnU. So pretty high heat of game here. We're about to start just in time here. We'll have, uh, first of all, I need to do this. Alright, and here we go. We have the pyro start from Sajan. Sorry about that. We do have the crusher start from Chuck. The bounty hunter plus pack rat on Tjuvis. And on Joke, we have a Growl that is going to be a LOD only 3 from the looks of it. So Joke probably going 5 worker here. Yes, he does. Joe is pushing the workers as well. Will probably not burrow this one next wave. Can still be surprised. So 40 gold, he's gonna burrow hit and go for an angler. Okay, so playing towards the trade hunt more than towards the worker, leaving the worker job on Joke. The wave's gonna be slow here from Chuck. And what is this positioning with the crusher? Okay, that is quite interesting to see. The Bone Warriors tanking before the crusher I mean, it does mean that this will tank 100%, but yeah, might not have been necessary to take that. Maybe place the other stuff behind could have been better, but maybe he wants that to be a fire archer later. But Saiyajin with the pyro start gonna be really fine up until wave 4, and Joke can probably afford to go up there. Well, he just needed that snail to get the threshold for the LOD. Chuck going to 6 workers here despite not receiving a send here can be problematic, especially since he's receiving a send here. Which one will be the fire archer? I mean, this one could be the better choice, but not really, so it kind of needs to be that one. And the logic behind that is that if the fire archer is here, then this means that the split just does not survive and does not hold anything, meaning that the crusher will tank everything if he does decide so. Goes for his T instead in front. It's so far in front here. But let's see how it goes, because now the DTs go on to the Steed. The Steed is quite tanky. Does it give enough time for the Crusher to do its job? That's the most important question, I think. Still only a 40 on his side. We do... what? Okay. That's interesting. Sorry about that. Well, thanks for the follow, I guess, when I'm offline. Yeah, so Snell also only on Tjuvis and Joke holding the 40 cent here. But that's what we discussed, like, pushing to 6 worker is always risky with Bone Crusher, and not having damage is always, yeah, on the higher hand of the risk. So this means that he cannot push aggressively off of this push because he needs that Fire Archer, at least. So probably going Fire Archer, sell something like a Buckler? Fire Archer here. But yeah, better on that side. As pinged by Saiyajin. Just because you want this to tank. And it will survive. Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, okay. This is probably not the correct way to play Fire Archer and Bolt Crusher start. The aggressive 6 worker push was exactly that, a bit too aggressive. But let's see how he does. The 2 mercenaries are dead, but there's way too much of the Fire Archer and too few on the Bone Crusher and nothing on the Bone Warrior, meaning that it will be another leak here. Saiyajin perfectly fine to a no send here, but Chuck having a rough one. We do have the 60 cent here coming onto the LD, and this will be perfectly fine for him. So how can Chuck recover? So first of all, normally you want a Crusher in front and your Fire Archer here. If you have a split between those two, it's always better on wave 3 and onwards. But now with that Steed being up there, it just brings so much on the side of Fire Archer here. And yeah, It will be rough to recover. Now the tank line, the boss goes on the side of the fire archer. The crusher tanks the rest, so it can be good. But what are the avenues back? He wants to reach the late game, but now his early game is um, was so difficult that he will have a hard time reaching that. He's going for the second crusher. When you have to go for a second crusher, you know that you are in a little bit of a trouble here, especially if you are sending every wave as well. If you're saving and you go for a second crusher, it's less problematic because you're still able to like your goal is to finish early game, is to gain an advantage for your ally in the early game. And so playing that early game build with crushers, that's good. But if you're scaling with a lot of income sends and stuff like that, then double crusher is almost never the play. You lose too much value, and you could potentially already aim for some of your more expensive units. Let's see, Cyanogen going for the Zeus here to partner up with the Pyro. He has a full stack cat as well. So he does receive a mole here, which is a perfect counter against those two. But it's about time right now. It is about time. And now Kenny gets enough. Oh, that's a 180 onto 180 onto Saya. That's not pretty. That's not going to be pretty here. And Chuck receiving 100 here. I don't want to say it's a little bit grim looking, but it's a little bit grim looking for him as well. Um, but Sayajin doing a decent job considering the size of the sand, only the Kingdom Mole and 2 Rokos. While on the side of Chuck, will this Crusher survive here? And it looks like no, it will not. The Brute's just too much DPS, and the Roko now partnering up with it. The Roko is not dying, the Brute is not dying. It is a leak here, and as well as on Saya. Only the King, that was very close to be killed, and that is King damage. Chuck is ahead in workers, yes, but at what cost? He has 9 workers, he's not looking great to a recent here, so a recent could be lethal here. Joke going aggressive again with the Brute Send. Tjuvis on his side, not sending yet. He might be waiting for a Brute after income. You see the damage that he has here is mostly magic damage. Yes, he has some decent frontline with the seeds, but not really the greatest on this wave. He is only 60 under, but we need to look at the uh, effective value here. We see magic damage. Yes, there's a little bit of pierce behind it. We have the steeds, but then you have fortified armor, nature defense, that reduces a lot of the value on the board here. But he does not receive a cent here, so he will be able to hold here, luckily for him. And Cyjan receiving 100 cent, and that's a brute. The cat is melting away, and the cat is dead. There's almost nothing left to be able to clear that. It will be a lot of sludge kills, but it will result into a leak nonetheless. There's too many sludges left, I do believe. There's only one left, but it is a leak, a very small one, so Cyanogen will take that for sure. The recent on Tjuvis did not work. Tjuvis going for some income, and Joke did not receive anything and will still hold. We do have a hold on Chuck. His build not scaling the greatest right now. He needs to transition as soon as possible to the Disciple Gates if he wants to have a chance. Because right now it's looking not too great. But he has enough for the Disciple, so Disciple right here could be a very good start for him. Okay, why are they pinging that far back here? So he's going for the Pegasus instead of the Disciple. So aiming for the front line before, I think it can be good. I would have preferred this Pegasus first. But let's see what it decides to do. Sometimes choosing the right unit to upgrade is also a very good skill to have. Very difficult to do. This steed is dying very fast. Yes, this Pegasus is staying alive a bit longer, giving mana to your fire archers. Uh, but yeah, okay, it tanks before the Crusher here, but um, it's not the greatest. You don't have a split aggro now. You just have the one side tanking everything. But in the end, it looks like it will be a hold. Is the Cannoneer enough here to leak him? It's looking pretty close. Maybe the Cannoneer will be enough to kill him here. To leak him. Sorry, not kill him. Leak it. So Cannoneer going through one more Fire Archer. There's only one left. Does the region of the Fire Archer enough to give time to kill the Cannoneer? It is very close, but it is, yes, indeed, a hold from Chuck. Now going for a big cent here, 160, 200, 220, 220 cent against an 80 on wave 9. So my biggest question is, why not wait on wave 10? I mean, if this works, then you can easily reset on 10 and still be fine. But now he has a Doomsday as well, so Doomsday will be able to clear a lot, also bring everything low, which is very good for the Hades. But that's a 260 cent, so it's still a very big cent. Not on the wave I would expect, of course. But the Hades is doing pretty well, but nothing on the Millennium. Millennium is tanking. Oh, he's tanking a little bit now. It is on. It's only the Mimic and one Carapace on the Millennium, so pretty much the best case scenario for Joke. He will be leaking in the end, I believe. The Thanatos should not be enough damage to kill the Mimic, unless. Oh, the Mimic is on the Thanatos and not on the Hades here. Do we get another summon out? I don't think so, but it's still a hold. It is still a hold on wave 9, and now it's just a missed opportunity to not go with wave 10 here. So I can understand that, yeah, maybe the Hades is not that strong on wave 9, but it was there on wave 8, and so you cannot just assume that it does not build on wave 9, especially with so little units, and you long saving as well. So a little bit of a misplay here from Chuck, but we do have the star colors coming out, um, starting to come out, sorry. Cyanogen going for some income, trying to keep himself into the game here. He's getting saved on, same as Chuck, but he knows that, oh, now the Fatalizer comes in, and that means that wave 11 will just be the end of the game here. There's no defensive spells apart from Guardian Angel, and there's no real game changer in terms of Guardian Angel. Maybe only the bunk on Cyanogen, but on Chuck there's absolutely nothing. And yes, Joke leaked here, and just the proof that wave 10 was just a bit better to protect also your wave 11. Like if you decide to send wave 10 onto Joke and Tjuvis, the leak is way bigger, and you protect a little bit of Cyanogen, making his Spatalizer not useless here. Because now that's exactly what it is, pretty much useless. We do have the aggressive spells coming in from Tjuvis and Joke. With the press the attack, they are trying to end it here. Um, good reaction here from Tjuvis to go for Witch plus Spam. Pretty much the best choice against those Disciple, as well as the low damage unit of the Fire Archer. Does go to Guardian Angel on the Buckler. Aurora Guard now, which can maybe help them, but it's not taking full. So this build feels like he's a little bit stuck. Like he doesn't have space. He was wondering what to upgrade, and yeah, that's the danger when you come in and you try something and you're trying to scavenge back up, especially when you are further back into the game. And like the game plan from Tru is get the kingpins, use the treasure hunts, and get the Mythium up. He has this logic here within this build. We do have Joe doing for the game plan of Hades as soon as possible, especially when he gets long saved, and just allowing him to get another tier 6 with the Growl. And that's the power of the Growl here. We do have Cyanogen leaking quite a lot, and Chuck leaking quite a lot. 15 creeps to the king. There's one Frogo, there's one Witch, there's one low Quill Shooter. Is this enough to kill them? There's Immolation. Immolation is probably the worst spell. Maybe the best spell in case of there's a low unit here. But a wasted shot here, and that's not ideal. And with these mini quill shooters, it might be game here. But it looks like that everybody is on one shot now for its remaining 3, 2, 1, and they hold here for another day. They are at 14% king HP, while Tjuvis is at 19 workers, utilizing full treasure hunts here. Um, Going even for another one. They want to finish on wave 13, it looks like. Tjuvis? Okay, you're not doing for another one, that's good. Listening to reasons here and just going for divided. So this is one of the better way to use the treasure hunt when you have a strong composition here. This was the explanation of why Creditor was so strong, because if you're able to do that with treasure hunt, you're able to do it with Creditor as well. The problem is that this is very vulnerable to Ascend here on wave 12. Yes, the Kingpins do a lot of damage, but still vulnerable to a big Ascend. But 19 workers on Tjuvis and utilizing the treasure hunt is probably very good for him. Getting a lot of Mithium and will be able to go for a massive send here. But Chuck and Saiyan can do massive sends as well. And they do decide to go here. Chuck? Chuck going for an after income Kraken. And Tjuvis just not going, as well as Joke. They have faith in the ability to hold here. So this might either be the game winning play, because 14 is pretty much the end for Chuck and Saya, but they need Tjuvis and Joke to be holding here. And Chuck, yeah, just going full king up, that's not going to save them. I mean, they needed to make something happen, and now since it's only Saya sending on to Tjuvis, and Tjuvis is probably not leaking here, is plus 262 value. Yes, it's only pack rats, but pack rats, if there's one wave where they're good at, it's probably 13. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure about the decisions here of going king ups and killing Sen on the other side. It doesn't seem to be on the same page here this game. Tjuvis and Joke decided to not send on 14. Okay. Going for the full trigger hunts here. That send will be massive onto Chuck from Tjuvis. It's going for another one. Come on, come on. Treasure hunt, Tjuvis, treasure hunt. Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. Most worker in the game and using the treasure hunt, that's where you know that you've probably lost the pressure game. But that's a income send coming from Saiyajin. He is looking pretty strong on value, to be honest. Starcarder Zeus, pretty good on wave 15, so that can save them. Especially since there's no sand here, and that could have been massive here, because the sand from Tjuvis could have wrecked everything that Chuck has. It's a lot of fire archers. Yes, there's Starcarder, but very low cost DPS units, and with only nature tanks, you can send them to that any ways you want. There's no chance that Chuck will be holding here. Alright, Tjuvis, you are holding, but just barely. So the Scent are coming. We have the Kraken coming from Tjuvis, as well as the Witch. Probably will be accompanied by some spam. Or maybe not. Witch is still a very good DPS unit. And with these, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 Chiron, 70 Methium extra for Tjuvis to spend. It will be a lizard at first, and I don't know what he wants to add as well. Possibly a pack leader. He could have enough for a pack leader, which could be very good. He's going for more Pegasus. He's going for more treasure hunts. And Hades, Doomsday on Joke, probably not leaking here, despite his value. It's only depending. What's the higher range? Doomsday has a higher range, so Hades will tank for the Doomsday, which is not ideal. But let's see. The bigger sends are on Chuck, 800 cent. There's almost no chance at all that this is holding on the side of Chuck. The Kraken, yes, dies. Well, he has a lot of Pegasus. Let's give him that. But the Pegasus, once they're dead, nothing much he can do, right? No mana regeneration, meaning that the Star Carter does not have the machine gun effect, as well as so many mana units on the board for him, meaning it was never efficient at the begin with. But Saijin on his side, receiving the lower sand, is looking pretty good. The Zeus are killing the boss. Will they be able to kill the boss in the end? Yes, they will, just barely. And yes, it dies in the middle, but it's still a hold, and so only one boss onto the king. It's a full king, so is it enough? Is the king enough to hold that? The boss should die here. Yes, okay, that's looking good. They will survive another day. 5% HP remaining, but they are very far behind in workers. And we have the decision here. Saiyajin's not going to push a single worker here. Oh no, he's going to push a little bit, but Chuck will be the one pushing a lot. He doesn't have a late game now. They need to realize that. And Tjuvis and Joke are just pushing even more. They are not afraid. And Tjuvis is probably going to have some bounty hunters here for next wave, upgraded to some kingpins. He's going to turn around yet again some a little bit. Oh my god, he's treasure hunting 5 of them, I think. Yes, it is. So ahead in workers, ahead in treasure hunt. That's the only positives going for Tjuvis here. And yeah, alright, so Tjuvis is going for the witch on that side. I mean, when you see all these nature defense, you have to go for magic damage, and the witch is just the perfect choice. Joke? Wait, Joke leaking here? And Tjuvis as well? That's a shutdown. That is a 100 gold shutdown, so that can help Cyan Shock, to be honest. I don't think this was really. I mean, Joke is so far under. I mean, I don't think this was planned for them. This is so much gold going inside of Chuck and Saya. Wait, Chuck is full pushing, uh, but they see Joe pretty weak on next wave, and he just leaked the most. Okay, they realize it's a race, but I don't think they raced on the right person here because Saijin needs to break Tjuvis, and Tjuvis is gonna have these Kingpin going. And the Kingpins on 17 is just better delay in equal sense. We do have 2 Havens though on Saijin, which can still help him. But I don't. I mean, I understand the logic because Chuck is not holding anything anyhow. So they want to go for a somewhat of a race, but they need to emphasize on Saijin holding here. To capitalize on Saijin holding here. It's a Siege Ram coming from Saijin as a San. Um, probably the. Yeah, I guess there's no real other decisions because you want to delay those kingpins as much as possible. But I mean, the ram just melted here on Tjuvis. But still, the values are still pretty low. The Joke is leaking everything, so that's not of interest. Chuck will be leaking everything as well. He full pushed. It's all about Saijin to be holding longer than Tjuvis. And Tjuvis is dwindling the wave a little bit, and Saijin just leaks before Tjuvis here. The tank value of Tjuvis is just too high, and yeah, uh, I don't know honestly what was a better decision. Chuck full pushing was probably a good decision because he was so out of the game, but Joe just has an answer, just full pushed on his side as well. He did it a little bit earlier than Chuck as well. On 16 already began. And so a little bit more messy. If they were more decisive, if Chuck decided to push on 16, being confident that they don't send on 16, then Saiyajin could have been able to hold 16. And I mean, the same problem applies, right? Because now Chuck. It's a very hard one to tell. Um, Very hard one to tell because even though Chuck pushes more or earlier, there's no chance that Tjuvis leaks more faster. Sorry, leaks faster than than Saiyajin if Saiyajin does not push. So they were capitalizing on the fact that Saiyajin was holding, but Joke was already suiciding on him to be able to get the closure of the game, knowing that Tjuvis was a little bit better on 17. But the rough early game from Chuck really closed out the game so early. He needed to invest. I mean, it's alright if you do something like this as Chuck, but you need to prepare for the Fire Archer on wave 3 as soon as possible. And that's not always easy to do. So, I mean, maybe also pushing that extra worker was a little bit problematic because this could have been two Fire Archers, right? With two Fire Archers is better than one Steed, of course, especially if you have a split. So I think a bit too confident to see, oh, Tjuvis is playing a low worker push game. He's not going to send me a lot, but he's still gonna send you 40 here. He did only send the 20. You know he treasure hunted two ways, so there's no real reasons to go six workers here. So a bit of a misplay here on that side. So I'll be always aware of the one sending to you and what he decides to do as well with that. Because this longer wave does mean that he will again be struggling on wave 4 because he already didn't have any fire archers going on. So that's pretty much the history of the game. Like 3 and 4 pretty much killed Saya and Chuck because Chuck was already very far behind. And at that point, yes, he was keeping up in workers, but was never able to hold or things like that. Saiyajin was punished a little bit early with the long save onto the mole, almost killing the second to last Roko. Could have been a lot of difference here in this game. That would have been probably the hold here on that end. But yeah, Brute on 7 against Cat, that can probably never go wrong. It's gonna probably leak always, unless they have enough DPS. And the wave 11s, and I think here the problem was going 9 from Chuck and Saya, not protecting their wave 11 because Joke was absolutely dead on wave 10 um, if if Chuck decides to go there, which means that Joke was probably forced to send wave 10 by then, unless he accepts the leak. If he accepts the leaks, then it's perfectly fine that they still go 11. But it would have still be more gold on the side of Saijin and Chuck to be holding a little bit better here against those Sins. And from that point on, only the long save onto 15. 15 was pretty impressive hold from Saiyajin, going for income king outside most every single round. Uh, and yeah, also some decisions in mid game. 13, Joke only receiving king ups. Those were pretty helpful on 15. And the fact that Saiyajin did not go for the kill here does mean that he was lacking a little bit of Mythium. So it did mean to Tjuvis that he was able to hope. But yeah, 15 was crucial for Saiyajin, but then afterwards the leaks from Joke and Tjuvis extending the wave, making wave 17 the closure of the game was sufficient. And so on that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching and have a nice one.